Hi, I'm Viktor. I'm the founder of Serverpod. I used to work on the Flutter team way back when. Now I'm doing Dart on the back end full time. Today we're going to do a little bit of a live stream. I'm planning to do some vibe coding because we just released Serverpod's new MCP server that will help a lot with that. So we're going to build continue building on a project I've been working on for a little bit to explore the sort of vibe coding space. All right, feel free to ask any questions in the comments and I'll try to answer them here. I figured we can start by, for those of you who are new to Serverpod, give you a quick update of what we're building here. So let me share my screen. We're building the ultimate backend for Flutter. And what it makes it so great is that you can write all your code in Dart, both your Flutter app and your backend. So this is a quick example of how Serverpod works. Basically, you just add methods to your server, which is a Dart package. You'll run the Serverpod generate command, and then you can call these methods as if they were local methods to your Flutter app. So that takes away the whole sort of in-between layer. Under the hood, obviously, we're using the best sort of web practices. We're using JSON. So there's no real magic under the hood. It just makes it very, very easy to use. All right. Let's move on to the next slide. So Serverpod will scale from anything from a hobby project. It's all open source, so you can host it anywhere. It's all free. And you can start all the way from a hobby project to host an app with millions of users, and Serverpod will work all the way. We're building Serverpod Cloud that will allow you to deploy in with zero configuration. Just type scloud deploy and we'll set up your full infrastructure with load balancers, databases, automatic scaling, everything. So that is, I'm going to give a little bit more an update on that soon, but it's around the corner. Then we are also very focused on making Serverpod work great with AI. And one example here is the MCP server that I'm going to showcase today, but also we have an implementation of a vector database in Serverpod. So for the database in Serverpod, we use Postgres. And Postgres has an extension that is called PG Vector, and we built a great interface for that. That's actually super cool for doing semantic searches and stuff like that. All right, and then we cover basically everything you need in your typical app backend. The database support is super great. Everything is type safe in Dart. We've got support for relations and database migration, so not just the simple stuff, but everything is there when you need it. We have support for authentication with Google, Apple, email, and basically all the rest. You can even plug in your own authentication if you need something special. We have support for caching. This is often an afterthought when you build your server, so it's great to have a system that just works with everything else in there. Health checks to make sure everything is working all the time. Streaming data, we made that super simple. Instead of just returning an object from your Serverpod server, you can return a stream and just listen for that in your app. You can schedule tasks, so this replaces cron jobs, which you typically would use otherwise. But here you can just say, call this method in any week from now, and Serverpod will figure that out. You can upload files to Google Cloud or S3. We have a great logging interface, both with a visual log viewer, but also you can plug this into something like Sentry or Datadog or any of these other services. And we have a complete testing framework. So when you your server can also write tests for everything. And that's actually working pretty well with the vibe coding as well. Lastly, we are still hiring, so especially looking for people who are great at building infrastructure at scale for Serverpod Cloud, but also really talented Dart and Flutter developers. So go check out our webpage, and we have a link there to our careers page. All right, so let me switch back to me. There we go. So that was a quick intro on what Serverpod is. Today we're talking a bit more about our new MCP server, and you can find that on pub.dev, serverpod_MCP. That has all the installation instructions and everything. And the way it works is actually pretty cool. We built something called, I should have brought the demo for that, maybe I can just bring it up. Something called Star Guide. Let me check here in a second. See, so that it's up and still a little bit experimental, so it's coming to you soon. All right, so let me share my screen again. So basically the way StarGuide works is that you can ask it any question about Serverpod. So maybe, how do I create a project? And it will search all our documentation, but also issues on GitHub and discussions. So it will give you up-to-date answers from all of that data, which is pretty cool. And the way we built our MCP server, we made it possible for the MCP server to ask StarGuide if it's not sure on how to do things. So that's a really cool thing. First, maybe I should sort of explain what an MCP server is at all. So when you're coding with something like Cursor or Google CLI or Claude Code, you can add something called MCP servers, and that's a Model Context Protocol server. So that allows the LLM agents to use tools in your MCP server. And tools can be things like running Serverpod Generate, or it could be something like looking up documentation, things like that. So you can add a number of tools to your MCP server, and the LLMs can use those tools to better produce things. They can have side effects, they can call web pages, search the web, all sorts of stuff. So what the Serverpod MCP server can do is provide documentation. So we have written specific documentation for different common tasks in Serverpod with best practices that are easily consumable by the LLM agents, but also we've added some basically some StarGuide support there as well. So if it's not in like the documentation that we provide directly, it can search StarGuide for the answer to its questions. So that is super neat. All right. I'm just checking here. I don't see a single comment. That makes me a little bit worried that we are not live, but I see there are at least 43 people watching. So I guess you are out there, so I'll just keep going. Post something in the comments if it looks like you can. All right. So I wanted to give a few updates on what we've been working on now that you know what Serverpod is. We are currently working on two main projects. The first one is Serverpod 3. I don't want to give an exact release date, but it's we're pretty soon to complete to getting it out. And the major updates there is that we replace the whole sort of web server in Serverpod, so the underlaying layer with something called Relic, which is a replacement to Dart Shelf, which is Google's web server basically. So we built a new version of Dart Shelf. You can actually use middleware from Shelf with Relic once it's all done. So it's sort of backwards compatible, but it has a lot of nice feature. It's faster. It do type safe headers for HTTP and all sorts of stuff. It's like a major update. And we're building Serverpod on top of that, but also included it as the web server for Serverpod if you want to also not just host your APIs, but maybe a web server to host your Flutter app or stuff like that. Then the second thing we are working on is Serverpod Cloud, obviously. That's been taking a bit longer than we'd hoped for. There were quite a few things that were very, very hard to do, especially scaling this up, but we think we have solved all of the issues now. So we are pretty much building the billing. That's sort of the last part to get done there. So I hope to give a better update for that soon. I'm sure everyone on the waiting list will get some reward when this goes live, so you get a couple of free months or getting access to it first of everyone. So make sure you join the Serverpod Cloud waiting list if you're interested in that. Next week we're going to attend FlutterCon, so meet us there. We'll have a booth and we're bringing the whole Stockholm team actually. So we'll be quite a few Serverpodders at FlutterCon this year. Very excited about that. You can also write me a message on LinkedIn if you want to schedule a meeting, and we'll be happy to talk with you guys in real life too. And feel free to ask any questions in this live stream. I'm not sure if my comments go through here. Let me check if I'm actually up on YouTube. Just give me a second. If I use my... I don't know. Okay, chat is disabled for this live stream, it says. I am not sure why that is. Comments. Give me a second, see if I can get that to you. I am a newbie at streaming, clearly. Content, live. Details. Maybe this is it. So I thought I was set to be made for kids. That was not intention. All right, looks like comments are enabled. So if you reload your YouTube stream, it should be up there. Sorry about that. I'm sure you have, as usually, lots of questions for me. I had accidentally set the video to be kids only, but I know you're all adults probably, unless we have any children here. But all right, hey everyone, great to see you in the chat too. Let's go. Just putting some of you guys up here. All right, very nice. Great to see you all. Sorry about that. I will learn for next time. So I figured let's jump into the vibe coding straight away and show you a little bit of what I've been working on. So while developing the MCP server, I have in the meantime built an app. So the workflow I had when building this is basically vibe coding the app, and every time I got stuck somewhere, I added rules to either the MCP server or to the project. I think that's actually a great way when you do AI coding to improve over time. You write your code and you see what the LLM goes, where it takes like a wrong path, and then you can maybe add a rule for that. I also did another little trick. For the app, I'm using ShadCN for the UI, but the LLMs are not too familiar with it, so it has a little bit of a hard time with it. So what I did is I actually used Gemini for that, to download all the documentation for it and extract all the examples and make them into different files, like markdown files with code examples. So that's a little trick. And then you put it in a .agents folder, and the agents will actually find it and use it. And then it will not use random material design elements in the middle of your app. All right, so what I am building, let me share my screen here, see if it's big enough. Is on the right side you have the app itself, and on the left side right now this is just the database viewer. So we are going to host the Full Stack Flutter conference probably in February, and we did this a little bit more than a year ago. Ended up being actually the biggest Flutter conference in the world. We had 4,300 attendees, so we're hoping to make it even bigger this year, which will be exciting, but it was a lot of work to manage this. We used Google Docs for people to submit talks and spreadsheets, and yeah, it was so much work. So I figured, hey, we should build an app for this, and if we're building an app, obviously we need to build it with Flutter and Serverpod. So now I am vibe coding this app, and I can show you a little bit what we have done so far. So first we have like an overview page you can see here, where you can, if you're a speaker, you have a speaker profile. You can upload your photo and title. You can edit your profile, submit your biography and links to your social media and stuff like that. And I haven't submitted any talks yet, but we can do that. So on the front page, you have the open call for papers right now. This is still very much work in progress, and we're going to add a few features to this app, so that will be exciting. But we can submit the talk here. Vibe coding Serverpod. And we will need to have a little abstract and some takeaways. Will be intermediate talk. Haven't given this before, and then you can recommend speakers, request coaching, but you also need to have there's like 2 consent buttons so that we can actually make sure you will attend the conference and also record a teaser for the talk and stuff like that. All right, so I'm saving it, and you can see now we have like the talk here. But if I am an admin, I can go to manage conferences. We have the full stack Flutter 26. You can just see there's a pending talk. If we go into the talks, we can see the vibe coding Serverpod here. And then I can choose to approve or reject it. So let's approve the talk. And you can see it's approved here. And the pending talks should probably update there. So that's something we can ask the AI to fix. But I had a few tasks that I thought would be fun to do. So I've mostly been vibe coding in Cursor. All right, before I get going, I will answer some of your questions here, because that's also one of the points of the live streams we're having. So I see a few questions, and I'll bring this one up first. Any updates on 2FA? 2FA is two-factor authentication. And yes, Bill, we will have that as part of Serverpod 3. So that is one of the main features we're adding to Serverpod 3 is a much improved authentication module. So that will be, let's switch to the other view here while I answer the question so you can see me. Apart from just the web server in Serverpod 3, it's also the authentication module that we're adding, and that has a lot of new features. Two-factor authentication is one, or three-factor, or any combination thereof. You can also do many other cool things with it, like we have support now for, what is it called, JWT tokens, and like refreshing those correctly and all that stuff. So you can choose how you authenticate with the server to make it more efficient and stuff like that. All right. Right, here's another one. What capabilities will be supported out of the box for microservices architecture for Serverpod Cloud? So the way Serverpod Cloud will work is basically you build your Serverpod. Typically Serverpod is like a monolith. It's not so microservice oriented. So you build everything in your Serverpod. You type, we upload it to the cloud. And from your Serverpod, you can obviously call any other services external to Serverpod. So you can pass in all the credentials or passwords or authentication tokens that you need there. So that will definitely work. But we're building a scalable service specifically for how Serverpod is set up. That's at least the starting point for it, but that may be changed in the future. Okay, a Serverpod Cloud feedback. Great to see you here, Igor, and cool that you're testing it. All right, great. Serverpod Cloud feedback, I'm a tester. I hosted my software as a service on it, and it works 100% until now. Great product, thank you. Yeah, it's very smooth. I mean, I have set up a bunch of projects. One is the Star Guide I showed a little bit earlier. And so easy to get stuff up and running. Jumping to the next question here. If PG Vector was enabled, is there any chance to enable also PostGIS to make geolocation easy? Yes. We have a few people asking for that. You can definitely do it, but you will need to write sort of custom queries right now. It's something we want to do in the future, but I think there is a request for comments that you can give a thumbs up on GitHub to make it a higher priority. It's not the highest priority. But if someone want to do it and send us a pull request, that would be freaking awesome. Can you name some projects that are using Serverpod? Yeah, there will soon be a bunch of examples on our webpage. We're remaking the webpage, so maybe hold out for that. But I can mention a few. Some of them I can't mention by name, but we have in the medical industry, we have like a tax agency in Africa using us. We have their banks using us. There's like a variety of very serious apps. So it's not just hobby projects. It's really some heavy hitting companies there as well. any chance you can improve the quality of the live stream? 720p is the max. I'll have to look this up for the next live stream, I think. Sorry about that, but I will definitely check if we can improve this. All right, wondering if there's been any work done, plans for supporting other S3 compatible storage services like R2. I did create a PR for this a couple of weeks ago, but I know you all have been busy. Yeah, sorry if it's taking a long time to review your pull request. We usually try to have it in a few days, the reviews at least. So I'll have a check in, but if it's good looking, it's something sounds like we want to include. And also a comment here is I'm also interested in the PostGIS. All right, cool. I will keep going back to the vibe coding here. So there are a few features I thought we could try to implement that would be, I think, pretty easy. While it's going, maybe I'll just talk away or answer some more of your questions if you have anything more for me. Let's see, I'm sharing my screen here. So we are, one thing I wanted to add to this app is we're going to build also from all the speakers, we want to have a web page where we show the speakers and promote the event, so you don't need to open up the whole app, but just getting like a landing page basically with all the speakers, maybe the schedule, stuff like that. And for the speakers, we want to pull them from the ones that have been approved. But some speakers are a little bit higher profile than others, sorry to say, but just the way things are. So for instance, if they're working on the Flutter team, maybe we want to highlight those. So that's a feature we don't have yet. So let's see if we can just make ChatGPT do this for us. So I am using right now Cursor, but I know there are many other agents out there. I tried mainly Cursor and Google CLI, and I think for me Cursor has worked way better. Google CLI seems to mostly be running in circles, to be honest, when I do anything that's a little bit more advanced. Maybe you have different experience. That's something I would love to hear about, because next week at FlutterCon I'll give a talk about vibe coding. So any tips and experiences and stuff I can get in there would be awesome. Yeah, Cloud Code is I should probably try that too before I do it. But my experience from Cursor is that like GPT-5 has worked the best for me. So that's what we are going to use today. Grok is like super fast, but it's like also wild, goes crazy and adds stuff all over the place. So maybe for super simple tasks that could work. But let's try this one out. So let's say, just describing what we want here. We want to have the possibilities to select high quality, select and feature high quality talks. Please add a field to. Sometimes it may be wise to describe a little bit more in detail what you're doing, rather than just saying what you want. Although most of the time it works, but I feel like it's getting faster to where I want it if I'm a little bit more technical. So please add a field to the talk model. Default is false, but we want to be able to change it if you are a moderator. No, sorry, nicer or admin. So we already built a system in this where you can be either just a regular attendee of the conference, you can be a speaker, you can be a moderator, and you can be an organizer. And then you're like an admin, which can do everything. All right. So we want to have the possibility to select and highlight high quality talks. Please add a field to the talk model. Default is false, but we want to be able to change it if you're an organizer or admin. All right, let's see what it does, if this is enough for it to go. Exciting times. Yeah, so cloud code all the way, and it's insane. You may be right that that's the way to go, and I'll definitely try that out this week too. Although this has been working pretty well for me, if you sort of break down the tasks quite small. So I tried also seeing how small instructions I can give. Sometimes I just give it like 1 or 2 lines. All right, so here is a question that's quite interesting. Are you using the auth scopes for the different permissions? And the answer is yes, of course. So I can show you what this actually looks like in the code. We have our server here, and then we have added scopes. So we have app scopes, that is a speaker, organizer, or moderator. And then for the different endpoints, so say we have, let's see, there's a talk management endpoint. So we require the users to be signed in and have the organizer scope to be able to access these methods. And the methods you can do then are like update the talk status, get talks for an event, retrieve a talk by ID, and get the pending count of how many talks are in the pipeline. So yes, we are using the permissions for this. And then we have another question by Nitish. Why did you stop creating project series? Can you please clarify what you want, what you are asking for there? I'm not exactly sure. All right, here is another question. What is the priority timeline for implementing job queue systems and rate limiting? How will Serverpod compete with Firebase and Supabase comprehensive feature set for enterprise applications? So Serverpod Cloud obviously have rate limiting built in to prevent abuse. So that's something we are working on there. But it's also, how do we compete with Firebase and Supabase comprehensive feature set for enterprise applications? So as you saw in the slide, so we have quite rich feature set already. So I would say we're very competitive in that space already. But with Serverpod Cloud, you can also, you get a sort of easy deployment that you have with Firebase or Supabase. So that is something definitely as a new selling point. But what is cool with Serverpod is you're not bound to these services. So I mean, if you are not happy with our Serverpod Cloud service, you can host it anywhere. You can run Dart, which is basically any computer. It can be a server in your basement or on Google Cloud or AWS or anywhere. So that is, I think, for many enterprises a huge selling point that they're not locked in to our service, but obviously we want to give you such a good experience, so that's something you really don't want to do. You guys started a series for Serverpod projects, but no update on this nowadays. I am not exactly sure what you are talking about here, but we are building a bunch of demos and stuff right now, if that's what you're talking about, or are you thinking about... yeah, I am not exactly sure. So please clarify one more time. Thank you. Is there any way to support Serverpod financially other than Serverpod Cloud? Well, currently no, but that is our main plan for monetization of Serverpod, but the framework itself would always be open source. So, but yeah, I guess thank you. And here we have another comment. Just want to share my thoughts on my first Serverpod project, which is a simple multiplayer game, and being able to share the game rules and logic between the server and client is amazing. Yeah, that's, you know, when I started Serverpod, that is the thing that I wanted the most, being able to share logic between the server and your Flutter app is huge, and don't have the need to do the context switches. Is it possible to use Serverpod Cloud free just to test, see what that looks like? Yes, join our waiting list and I'm sure we can throw you some free credits so you can try it out. All right, Serverpod tutorials. Yes, we are in fact just hired a guy who is working on building a whole set of new Serverpod tutorials and presentations. So that is coming very, very soon. You also check out academy.serverpod.dev, which is like a complete academy or a complete Serverpod course. Build a real app which contains most of the features that Serverpod have. All right. Checking in on our vibe coding, still going. So that's the thing I think with vibe coding is sometimes it's just faster to do these tasks yourself than actually asking the AI. But I mean, it's pretty cool that it's doing stuff. But we'll see. Exciting times. Are there any plans to expand database support beyond PostgreSQL to include new SQL options like MongoDB? So the answer is this is definitely something we want to do. What's cool with Postgres is that it has a great new SQL interface that is definitely on par with MongoDB. So that is the one we would support in that case. I can't give a timeline for this, but that would be very cool. Okay, here I missed a question from Martin Backer. Let's see. Talking of enterprise applications, what about SSO with, say, Keycloak? Yeah, with our new authentication system, we are making it very easy to add your own custom authentication extensions. So we may not include it from the start out of the box, but hopefully people will contribute with more sort of plugins for different types of authentication providers. So that could be one of them. All right. Still going. All right. This is a great question from Nicola. Will there be any library or built-in support in Serverpod to help developers create AI agents similar to how LangChain supports this in Java? So there's actually a package, Dart package, that I've been using for our AI stuff that's called Dartantic. I think that is what you're looking for. It has, you can choose from different agents, and it provides a unified Dart interface for all the different AI agents that you can use server-side. It's pretty cool. All right, so here's a question. How can one handle global exceptions instead of handling each endpoint method? Right, so typically, when I started doing Serverpod, I built sort of a system for that, but it's not a great solution. It turned out you usually want a little bit more fine-grained control over what's happening in your app when an exception is thrown, rather than getting like a callback somewhere if something goes wrong. So, I mean, you can catch exceptions much higher up if you don't want to do it in the just run the method, but I think my recommendation is still to do it per method call to Serverpod, because something can go wrong with the connection every time you make a call. All right, cool. Looks like our thingy is done. Generated Serverpod code and created migrations. Analyzer is clean. So it both ran the Serverpod generate. It created a migration for us. So let's see what it's done. In talk, we have featured, takes a boolean and default is false. That looks great. And then we have, that means that if we set the default value, that means that when we are updating the database with the database migrations, it should not have deleted any of our things in there, hopefully. And then it has set talk featured. It takes talk ID is featured. And it's using the business layer for this. Update talk featured. Looking up the talk. Let's see, sets the featured and updates the row. This looks also correct. All right, so I think that is the backend part of things. Then we can see it added a migration for us, which is great. So the database migrations is basically the instructions for how you need to modify the database schema between each update. All right, let's see what it has done to our Flutter app. If we scroll up here. Okay, it hasn't done anything to the Flutter app. All right, but it made the backend part of it, so that's great. So I'm going to, let's see, open source tree here. And it's mostly generated code that is has changed here. We have this set featured talk, we checked everything else. Just good practice to always look through the files, so there's nothing crazy in there. All right, looks good. Then we can add this as a feature. Backend support for setting featured speakers. All right, so if we go back to this, let's maybe give it a hint about which page we wanted to add, it to. So I'm checking Chrome here, and we have manage conferences, view talks. Oh yeah, okay, so it's maybe it's removed our talk after a while. That's things. Okay, then we have a problem with submitting talks. Talk now looks. What message did we get? Let me check there again. All right. All right. Ran out of free credits. All right, I'll let that get going, and then we can ask some questions in the meantime. Would it be possible to manage different tenant groups with new authentication module? Great questions. I think I will need to dive a little bit deeper into that before I can give you an answer. But there are definitely possible ways to do it. I don't think we have anything built in. Will you add something that produces API docs for cases when you want to make some APIs as public REST API or similar? This is also a great question, and something that we will be building. I can't give an exact timeline, but our sort of priorities after Serverpod 3 release will be to improve the developer tooling. So we're going to add things like hot reload to Serverpod. But this is like, after those are done, this is the most requested feature we get. So definitely something we want to do, but also add code generation for other languages. So I think that's really what people want when they ask for this feature. So you can use it in like your JavaScript web page and stuff like that. Right, when to expect Serverpod 3? I don't want to give an exact date, but it's sometimes this fall. We are getting pretty close, wrapping up the authentication module. That's what we are working on. That's sort of the last piece of the puzzle. Any news on a Serverpod MCP? Yes, go to pub.dev and search for Serverpod MCP, and you can start using it today. That's what this live stream is about. I'm not sure if it's using it or not though, but sometimes it do. So what way Serverpod is going with Relic, templating like Jinja 2, more programmatically like Jasper, or can you elaborate on that? Yes, of course. So the way we are building it, Relic is really just sort of the base layer for all of this. So you can use Relic with Jasper, or you can use templating with Relic. So Relic itself is sort of independent of that. It's just like a lower level web server with support for middle layers and or middleware. In Serverpod itself, we're building a templating engine that is, it's pretty rudimentary, but still very useful. Okay, let's see if it changed anything for us here. Maybe we just need to restart everything. Let's give it a try before. When things fail, give it a restart, right? I am hiding your comment there. So let's start the server. Hopefully soon with hot reload. And we're restarting the app, see if that gives us anything better. Submit the talk. Oh, it's happy. Okay, so maybe I just needed to restart things for it to work. That is quite possible. All right, very cool. But it didn't make the interface for us, so let's figure out which page we want to add this to. And that's if we manage conferences, view talks, and let's see. All right, so on the talk details page, and I'm sure there is a talk detail page there, so cool, it works now. But we want to be able to set the featured bool from the talk detail page. Detail page. Where did my cursor go? The page, if you are organizer or admin. And talk is approved. All right, let's try that out. All right, great to hear that interoperability is on the roadmap. Yes, it's we are well aware. We are a team of 12 developers working on Serverpod full time now. So we are, a strong but very small team. So we really need to prioritize hard the stuff we are building. So the highest priority is getting the authentication done really, really good. And obviously getting Serverpod Cloud out to all of you as soon as we possibly can. All right. See, it's planning its next moves. Yeah, that's the thing with the vibe coding, right? It takes a long time sometimes. Maybe it's because I'm using GPT-5, but I'm curious to hear if you guys are, how much AI are you using in your projects? Are you building with AI or are you mostly coding manually? What is your process like? Yeah, this is something I want to know too. Hey Craig, any chance of more Serverpod things in observable Flutter? That would be nice. All right, here's another answer. I code manually and have AI help with boring tests. Yeah. I typically code manually myself, but for this full stack Flutter app, I challenged myself to pretty much just do vibe coding, and it's pretty cool what it does, but it makes a lot of mistakes. I think my feeling is you still really need to inspect the code when you write with AI, because it does things like it loves to repeat stuff. Instead of looking up a method that's built for a purpose, it creates a new method. Even when it's coding a single task, it will add the same private methods in like 3 places instead of using one single source for the same sort of task. Hit me up. There's always space for Serverpod on Observable Flutter. Awesome. We'll do that for sure. All right. So can you say more about the new authentication system and object storage? What's the biggest changes? Object storage. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking about there, but the biggest changes, I mean, it's like a complete rewrite, and the biggest features is that it's very plug and playable, but at the same time easier to set up and configure. So those are the main features. And plus it's got support for using, for instance, instead of just integers as ID, you can use UUID to identify users. You can have anonymous users. There's a bunch of these features that are just built in and works. So that is cool. All right, looks like it's done something here to our pages. So let's check the talk detail page. Just maybe run it and see if it works. So if we go to manage conferences and view talks, we have an approved talk here, and we have a toggle for featured talk. All right. Goes red when you press it. It's a little bit scary. Let's see if it's stuck. Looks like it. We can also check the database here. If I open up, let's see, too many icons, Postigo. You can see the different talks here, and yeah, it's now set to true for featured. Yeah, so that seems to be working. Pretty cool. Let's see what the code actually looks like, if it's anything close to acceptable. It's usually good to have a quick look at this, so it doesn't do anything too crazy. Still vibe coded, so I'm kind of going with it, but just giving at the quick view here. So it's calling set talk feature in the talk management endpoint. Cool, that looks okay. And add some more stuff here. Oh yeah, that's probably just a toggle. All right. Yeah, let's go with that. We got a new feature. Feature toggle featured talks in app. Boom. All right. I am going to answer a few more questions. We got at least one feature in there, and we're sort of approaching the hour mark. So that's what I'm trying to keep these live streams to. Let's see here. When will Serverpod support customizable middleware chains, and how do you plan to balance the current batteries included simplicity with the flexibility that larger applications need? So I got some good news for you. This will all be part of Serverpod 3, since we're building it on top of our new web server Relic that has support for middleware. So you can even plug in old school shelf middleware in Relic. It's pretty neat. So all that will work. So for instance, middleware can be things like you can use it for rate limiting, or you can do custom logging. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do there on sort of a lower level that Serverpod provides. But the whole Serverpod API just plugs into Relic as a middleware itself. So you can add in more stuff there. So that will be very cool. Yeah, that's a question we sort of touched on a little bit earlier. How to use the same Serverpod APIs with other frameworks like React.js or Next.js. That's a great question. That's where we want to build code generation for JavaScript as well, or TypeScript probably too. Would be super nice to have. Right now it's a JSON REST API, so you can, do it yourself if you just. Everything is very well-formed JSON, so there's no real magic in there. But unfortunately, that's what you need to do right now. All right, how to add Serverpod MCP to the IDE. So it depends on which IDE you're using. They're a little bit different, but it's just a command line application, and there are some examples for Cursor. I think I added in the documentation on the pub.dev page, so try that out. Right, if I call an endpoint which starts a background function that lasts 2 hours, will it be stopped? I think it probably won't, but what you probably want to do there is, instead of returning just an object or calling a method, I would recommend instead making it a stream, and then you can send updates back on, if you have a longer task, that can give you updates on the progress of that task. Are the current docs in Next up to date? Yeah, I think we try to add the documentation when we add features. So for most parts, yes. I think for the new authentication module, that is not complete, so we haven't done the documentation yet. Any change of cron job kind of functionality? Yes, that is something that's also on the roadmap. It's we know the APIs for that is not as nice as the rest of Serverpod, so that's something we want to improve. Okay, so I think this relates to the endpoint starting a background task. So what you may want to do here is actually you can start another task in an isolate in Dart, for instance, or in a future, and just have it go off, do its thing if it needs to, and then the method can return immediately. So that may be a better solution. When is Serverpod Cloud coming out? Any rough estimates? Yeah, this fall. We are doing the finishing touches on billing. That's the last piece of the puzzle. So yeah, it's everything else works. So we're also bringing beta users on every week. So if you want to be there, make sure to join our waiting list. All right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today. I've been talking for an hour, so that may be enough for today. It's been a pleasure to have you all here, and I'll try to make another live stream soon again, and hopefully I'll have the comments enabled that time. All right, thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.